Four-man Alabama rush. Got him. No, they did. Oh, my gracious. How about that?
Stop a playmaker like Manziel. You got to get him.
Welcome back to Film Fanatics, and today we're talking about Untold. Johnny Football. If y'all don't remember Johnny Manziel, if y'all don't remember Johnny Football, you might be too young. But that guy, Johnny Manziel was like in memory, because when I was a kid, that's when heavily we was watching NCAA. Johnny Manziel was that guy. You just never seen a white guy do what he was doing as in my time, I'll say. That's what I'm saying. It just was unheard of at the level he was doing it at. But I really enjoyed this documentary. You can find it on Netflix, and I think it's really good. I haven't really been following the Untold. Now they've definitely got a viewer, because it's what the heck? So hopefully I got you as a viewer, and you leave a like and subscribe and you comment, because here we have in-depth conversations about films, movies we've seen. Later on, I'll be seeing more movies to deliver you all the best content. So you mean the most right now, so your like and subscribe means the most. But back into this, I also definitely enjoyed the score. The score really embellishes the documentary, really hooks you at certain times, and adds to the overall flair and storytelling that they use to really build his football life, because that's what it's all about. Johnny Manziel's football life, his rise, fall, how quick it was, which is really sad, and trying to humanize, this guy, because I know it's kind of hard to empathize with the dude who's made millions and millions of dollars. You just don't really see yourself in him, but you gotta understand, his whole football career is a what if now, and he has to deal with the fact that he intentionally threw all this away through his decision making, through his lifestyle, through the actions and people he surrounded himself with, and that's something you have to live through the rest of his life, because coming at it with an arrogant stance of what he had, thinking he didn't have to show up and work out, he was bigger than College Station, he's Johnny Manziel. That dude ain't Patrick Mahomes, so it was gonna end at some point. Let's be real. So like I said, Johnny Manziel was basically, if you didn't see him play, he was basically a mixture of Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield. Lamar Jackson, a little lower skill level in terms of athleticism, but right up there. And, Baker Mayfield for the skin color, just being real with you. But, and, kind of the flair and pizzazz and, what he was able to accomplish. Because, overall, Johnny Manziel never had no standout year in terms of record. He always went he always lost a bunch of games. He wasn't had that standout Cam Newton year. So it's from in hindsight, it's we kind of saw this coming. You weren't gonna, be the most amazing quarterback ever. This kind of made sense. So he would have had to work a billion times harder in the NFL, gave up all the things he gave up, and really walked a straight over and be a pro for that ever to work. But him throwing that thing up to freaking Mike Evans, man, that thing was sensational. It's bro, we're just throwing it. Mike Evans was going, huh. It's folks did not have an answer for that. And in the SEC, that was something to see, because that was a big thing for Johnny Manziel, him coming into Texas A&M, because who the fuck was Texas A&M? And they had just recently joined the SEC, so it's what y'all finna do here? So him breathing life into Texas A&M, being the catalyst, putting everybody, people, that organization, a whole college on his back and bringing them to where they are now, because he's the single reason why any kid was putting a single person on Texas A&M in NCAA 14. He's the only reason. Let's be real. The only reason we consider Texas A&M in NCAA 14 was because of Johnny Manziel, and he was in the original cut. Bro was sensational in that game. You can't tell me otherwise. You picked him up, or you had to update the game, but oh my goodness, oh Lord Jesus. And then they had to update the uniforms. Don't get me reminiscing about NCAA 14, because that game is goated, and I hate that they got rid of it. But he is a big reason why that game went away and why we have NAIL amongst college football players today. And we're going to get into that later. But starting off in this documentary, we get into his high school career and how he was pretty good. If you watch that film, it's like he's playing against a bunch of JV players, and this is varsity. So, from where I play 7A in Georgia. So these dudes were for real. So, seeing those kids, it's we don't know if this will translate. So, they take us into the fact that, he was a good high school football player and he didn't have too many offers. Every kid from Texas naturally wants to go to UT, which is University of Texas, especially Vince Young, the culture, the history, and UT being the state school, being the biggest school in Texas. It's like, that's a no-brainer for most kids in Texas. But Texas did not reach out to him. It was really mainly a couple schools, and Texas A&M stood out. But like I said, who the F is Texas A&M, bro? And like I said, coming to the SEC, bro, you about to be as good as Missouri. So let's be freaking real. Like, I know Missouri, if you're a Missouri fan, they got a couple, chances to get up there. That's because of how they're in the division, bro. If they was in Alabama's division, bro, they wouldn't see the light of day. Let's be freaking real. But he goes to Texas A&M. I think initially he redshirts, but then he gets that redshirt freshman year, and my man is a bamf. Like, y'all got to remember that. Like, comes in hot. Like I said, I mean, they still lost games, which was weird, but he comes in, and really the highlight of that season was him going into Bama. Alabama against Nick Saban's Crimson Tide. And that team was stacked. Like, y'all got to remember that team. That team had TJ Yeldon, Eddie Lacy. Like, y'all got to remember. That Bama team was not a normal Bama team. And he goes in there and he just, grabs the grease and he bends them over. He wasn't playing. And, if you really remember the game, Alabama was like, hold on, you're not just finna bend me over with the grease. But then Johnny Manziel said, yes, I am. Slap. And it's over with. Like, he really put them to sleep. That was a crazy game. That's when the country knew Johnny Manziel was that guy. And it really, the documentary really embodies what that was like for him and how he turned up his lifestyle, how coaches got paid, the school, everything started changing, like millions and millions of dollars. Because at the time, you got to realize, who the F is Texas A&M? We got one of the best college football players of all time. We got to go all in next season. But before we could get there, what really solidified all of this happening was he won the freaking Heisman, the first freshman to ever win the Heisman Trophy. That was a huge accomplishment at the time. I remember, dude, they had every kid going like, you could be great immediately. Every kid was like, I'm going D1 and I'm going to be great immediately and I'm going to win the Heisman. Like, he had us turned up, really believing in ourselves. He was a generational inspiration to kids. And like I said, he turned up a whole university, like single-handedly put Texas A&M on the map. And this was also the time Manti Te'o was talking to a fake girl. I feel like he played good, but this was like the only reason like he was really relevant. And the fact that Notre Dame was pretty good that year. I think they got freaking dog smacked by Alabama 42-14 in the Natty that year. But like, he was talking to a fake girl. Like, you can't, I have to see you, bro. Like, there's just no way we're going to be texting for years. And then national news? Psych, nah, hell nah. This would have not made national news. Get this out of here. I would have been like, nah, bro. It was my friend pranking me. Not big news. Happens every day. Pranks are pranks. But, this made national news, and that's the only reason he was up there. And I forget the other dude. Like, when you look back in hindsight, who the F are those dudes? But in reality, Johnny Manziel won, turned everyone up, and this led to him really having, and most people at the time, especially if you were a big player, a real grievance with the NCAA and the president. Like, he's like, bro, y'all are student athletes. Like, y'all get the privilege to get a free college education because, like, in reality, y'all boys might not go to the league. Y'all boys might not last that long. So the fact that you got a free education at a top-tier institution and you got to play college football and represent our logo is a huge, privilege. So rest on your morals. But, it's like in hindsight or, on the back door, y'all are making millions of dollars off of that performance, millions of dollars off these people's names, like I said, which leads to our NIL amongst college players today, which also stems from Johnny Manziel making the decision with a couple of people that were very close to him to sign autographs for money, which led to a bang-up lifestyle, making him into a celebrity in his own right. Now, off the field, he's not just some broke college kid, grateful for the opportunity to go be an Aggie. Like, go Aggies, like 12th man. Forget that. He had 100,000 from signing these autographs, like real-ish, under his bed. Really, and the documentary really lets us know, like, yo, like, what would you do if you were 18, 19, 20 years old with 100,000, bro? Like, and then all you got to do is go to another city, sign a couple autographs, and whatever you spent just got replenished, untaxed bread. IRS can't touch me. I'm a college football. It's like, y'all would think I would have this money. So no one's really looking at this guy. But all good things have to come to an end. And the documentary really lets us know, because in the time, just through the media, through Skip Bayless, through Stephen A., through what we saw through the media, it's like, yeah, this is bad. If he gets caught, he's done. But ultimately, they devised a plan, and the documentary makes him look like a freaking vamp for this. Like, bro, it's like, yo, they devised a plan to make it seem like his whole family has been rich. And I'm like, at the time, like I said, through the media, we all believed him. Some white kid, his family was rich. What the heck he thought he was gonna do? He's the first dude ever. Like, what y'all thought he was gonna do? He's 19. We all believed it. But in reality, bro was just making bank, and he had to find a way to cover this thing up. And I'm telling you, bro, Johnny Manziel was a bamf. And I think this really plays a part in his detriment, because along with the school of Texas A&M enabling him, because he goes out, he wins, he shows up, he sells tickets, he gets coaches paid, they're enabling him. In a situation like this where he more or less gets off scot-free with just half a game suspension, he goes into life as a young person thinking he can do whatever he wants. And in the game of football and what he was doing in his occupation, that is simply not the case. Because Buddy was not Patrick Mahomes. Excuse me for the glazing. But like I said, he just wasn't. Or like, he's not even like Josh Allen. Let's be real. Or he wasn't Lamar Jackson. So the guys who were eventually coming to lead, outworking him, really with the chip on him shoulder, were always going to pass him. But at the same time, with the fact that they were enabling him being kind of the most sensational player at the time, it's like, and from coming from the school and all these different things, that really played in his detriment, because as a young person thinking, you can get away with anything and just everything flies, going into your later on years, especially while you're maturing, you're going to make bad decisions. What the documentary really shows us, him going out partying, him doing coke, doing drugs, especially declaring, because at the time, it made more sense to declare. You'll see more kids stay because they're making millions of dollars in college football now, so it's more incentivized to stay, especially if you're making money. But back then, it's like he's not making any legal money. He just got caught up, so naturally, 2 years gone. So going straight into the NFL, now you're becoming a pro. So with all these different issues with his lifestyle, with missing practice, with all his enablers, the league was not going for that, and everybody knew this. Whether you were a casual fan, you liked football really heavy, you knew that this kid and how he was doing it was not gonna fly. And he gets a new agent who suggests he should separate everyone who was involved with the autographing scheme, close friends, loyal family members, people he could call brothers. And he had to separate himself, and his agent is letting him know, like, in the league, this is real. So you got to prove to me, so I can give to these GMs, these people who are going to give you millions of dollars legally, that you're going to go and be a big boy and pay taxes on, an idea that you're someone that they can invest that into. So going in, he does have a little hiccup before the draft. Once again, smooths it over. No big deal. Even though he was told to walk a straight line and do the right thing the entire months in preparation for Indianapolis. So off rip, he's showing every sign that you're just not a trustworthy person. You're going down the wrong path. And eventually his family starts cutting him out of businesses. His family, people around him, are trying to distance himself and let him know that your actions are showing a pattern that you're just an unreliable person, and we cannot go forward in enabling you, because you're going to crash and burn. So eventually when he gets to Cleveland, he explains in the documentary, once you get all these different things, or once he acquired those different things, that's the most empty he's felt in his life. Being in Cleveland, being in a new environment, being able to compete for a starting NFL position, being Johnny Football, all these different things led into his depression. And this is a good time to say, if you ever do feel depressed or down, life will show you that people do care for you. And if life is, not giving you the best signs, I want to let you know that I care about you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're, enjoying the content. I'm glad you're making it this far to hear this message, because I do care about you. And if you're ever dealing with signs of depression or wanting to unalive yourself or anything like that, just understand, I care. People around you care. Life will definitely introduce people into your life that want you to be there. So you matter. So understanding that, in his, which is what I was speaking on earlier, in his position, when it all came down to it, getting drafted 22nd overall, him thinking he was going to go first, he was clearly the best quarterback in the draft that year in terms of, on-field production. But all the off-field things did push him back to 22nd overall, which negated a lot of his money, which, and he went to Cleveland. We all knew it was over. Cleveland at the time was a bag of butt. So it's like, you know, loser. And he had a bad coaching staff. Like, it was abysmal. Like, you had to be there to see it. He was cooked from the get-go. So it makes sense he was a little depressed. You know, they sucked. You know, he wasn't the best quarterback. He didn't work the hardest. So it was a lot of things stacked up against him. But getting to the point where, you know, he's feeling like this, he's self-sabotaging, he's destroying his career, trying to get it back to ground zero, spending all his money. You know, he does end up back down as ground zero. And he does, you know, end up going back to Texas with his parents. You know, at this point, we kind of forgot, we understand he's a bust, a what if, and, you know, like I said, putting yourself in a position of a guy who is a what if, he has a lot of regrets. Like, he's blown a lot of money. He's not in the same position. He can't do the same things he can do. He's not as relevant. You know, there were people saying he was going to be bigger than LeBron, you know, LOL. But, you know, check this out. That's a tremendous thing as a man to put on your shoulders and live with for the rest of your life. So whatever you're going through, whatever's going on in your life, just know that people do care about you, and life will show you that, and I care about you. So when all these things go on in your life, when things feel bad, understand that you can go back to a group of people who do care about you. Because even throughout the story, you know, his family did turn his back on him in certain aspects of life, but they did, you know, want better for him, you know, wanted him to go to rehab, want him to be in the best space to go out into the world and be a productive human and, you know, make better decisions and be seen for something more positive. And one day he'll be able to give this insight to millions and hundreds of thousands of young football players who will be able to make a different decision, ones that we can enjoy, you know, from an entertainment standpoint, and also can live their life and be a successful human being, you know, beyond just sports. So I think that's what the message of the entire documentary was, to really humanize Johnny Football, really give us these flashbacks, reminiscings, a combination of what he did for College Station, Texas A&M, college football, especially going on in today's world, you know. Transcendent talent, transcendent player. I hate that it really, you know, went down for him like that. But ultimately, I think Untold, Johnny Football, stellar watch. You can catch it on Netflix. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification button, and have a great rest of your day. Like I said, love yourself, enjoy life, stay happy, stay cool.